Call this meeting to order. Will you please rise with me? Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And obviously it is such a nice day. The fact that we are on our 5th meeting for the month. Almost no one is in attendance, which is very reasonable. But we do have a public comment section. Would you like to make a public comment at this time?
No thanks.
As the one public declines, we will move on to our first agenda item, which is the trucking ordinance. And obviously we will not be making motions, we will not be passing or denying anything, and simply for discussion. Specifically on the trucking ordinance in the packet, I included when the trucking ordinance first came into existence in 2007, an adjustment that was made in 2008, and then an adjustment that was made in 2016. And what happened here is at first there was an allowed list of the roads that you are allowed to go on, so I'll call that a white list. And then in 2008, that was changed to a black list, a list of roads that you were not allowed to go on. That was in effect from 2008 to 2016. And then it was changed back to the white list version in 2016. So those are the changes we're seeing there. There's obviously been a lot of discussion, a lot of controversy and debate in Dalton for quite a while around the trucking ordinance. And I'm wondering essentially if we should expand that white list or revert back to something like a black list. Any comments from the board?
Well, I looked at all of them, and the black list seems more reasonable. And again, I'm curious about Riley Thompson from Russell Road to 120. Is there a reason why? Because that is a major thoroughfare, and it's what, 50, 55 through here, isn't it?
It is 55.
I believe
It's 55. That's what I thought.
What's
So,
that? Riley Thompson?
yes.
45 unless otherwise posted.
Mm.
Oh, is it 45?
Okay. So, is there a reason why the trucks aren't allowed to go through here?
Well, I've heard a couple of things, a couple of different ways on this. There has been a concern about wear and tear to the road itself because it's kind of wet in the area. I've heard that. I thought of myself, and I don't know if this was brought up, but if you go down Riley Thompson to 120, if you're turning left there, that is kind of a sketchy turn to make. I make it to go home. I haven't actually had anyone bring that up, but I just know from driving myself, and I don't know if that ever was a concern or not. Do you know on that, Laura?
No, my understanding is that Riley Thompson from Russell to M120 is not considered a grade A or a truck road.
Truck road, is
Yes,
that why?
it is not yet. It is not up to standard to carry heavy trucks. That's my understanding. And I know there is a concern about that corner at M120 and Riley Thompson, the left turn.
Which it is a beast.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It is a beast.
Yeah,
Only
even to
way
get
would
a
be
car
if-
around that corner.
Right, the only way would be if we had a light there.
Yep, exactly.
And of course, there's the issue with the railroad tracks. Everyone knows the gigantic bump that is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, I like the 2008 version, where you get the blacklist. You've only got 5 roads, which are actually taboo, per se. Another thing I read that I think is kind of concerning is also, it says in the violations in 1021-010, it says the township supervisor, township ordinance officer, and any law enforcement officer of the Muskegon County Sheriff's Department or Michigan State Police and township attorney are authorized to issue municipal for infraction citation for violations of the ordinance. I'm a little concerned with the supervisor and the township attorney going out and offering citations. For one, you're not law enforcement. You don't have flashers and you don't have the badge to actually legally pull somebody over. And I think that we might want to strike that out. I mean, it's, again, you pull somebody over, you go to address it and they shoot you because they don't know who you are. They think you're being carjacked. You don't need them. But if they see some, the blue and white flashers or blue and red flashers, and they have a uniformed officer coming up, that's different. You know what I'm saying? So that's a safety thing from my concern. To see
I
that.
think that's reasonable. My guess is that it's in there because we wouldn't have our zoning enforcement pulling people over either. That it's in there for issuing citations after the fact, like we do for zoning violations. We issue them after the things are occurring, so we wouldn't be pulling someone over at the time. Obviously, the police list in there would be, and I know Dalton has contracted before, I believe with the county, for a limited time for a deputy to come out and do that type of thing.
I can see that, but
Yeah.
again, like I said, I think we might want to strike those out then. This way, I mean, attorney pulling somebody over.
I don't think it's referring to pulling somebody over.
Well, it says the township attorney are authorized to issue municipal and civil infractions and citations for violations of his ordinance.
But see,
Right.
you can mail citations. So
Okay.
if they see somebody, if he sees somebody violating and gets a plate, and then,
Okay, well, here's the other thing on that one. Is there a camera in their vehicles?
I don't know, I'm just saying,
No, what
I think
that-
that's how that
Ma'am.
started, yeah.
What that started from is we could sit here and watch trucks go down the road, and right beside the truck, it says Billy Joe John's Lumber Company.
Mhm.
Look it up, send them a citation, say you can't go down that road.
Right.
They never pursued anybody, they didn't
No.
go anywhere, it's just we happened to see somebody a lot. That's how it was done.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, it wasn't, there was no pulling anybody over. The only person that did that was the Waymaster when they had the frost laws on.
Yeah.
I know we did ask him at one point to have him hang out in this area and run, but he's only part-time because of the frost laws.
Right.
So, often, yeah.
and obviously we wouldn't be changing the frost laws, and certain roads are A1 and certain roads are not A1. We can't change that, or it's very expensive to change that.
The other one I'd like to talk about is also White Lake Drive from Russell Road to Big Road. I know that it starts off 35 from Russell Road heading towards Blue Lake Road, and then goes up to 45, and then goes up to 55. Yeah, the only problems I can see is that there are driveways, we get the roller coaster hills back there, closer to Blue Lake Road. That's not a heavy volume traffic on Blue Lake Road, so I don't see why a truck would be able to cross there in that avenue. Discussion on that?
I'm not sure, other than that, I know some of that roadway gets wet, or the soil gets quite wet in that area, and I'm wondering if that was the reason. I have no idea, though.
Can we look into it with the road commission and see what they
Yeah, I
say?
need to have
Should be allowed out there?
More discussions with them. Obviously, before we change it, we want to check with the road commission to make sure. we're
Right,
not-
so if we could look into those, I understand this road, unless we put a light out there, we know the difference. But yeah, like Ryan Township, Russell Road to Holton Road, I can see that. White Lake Drive to Blue Lake, I understand, because trucks have to go so far out the way, look at the maps. They're going to have to go way outside the township
Right,
to go north and then cut across if they want to.
right,
They're going out of the way.
right.
We're trying to be more friendlier to trucking companies and for deliveries and things like that. I would think that'd be better off. Like I said, we look into it better and maybe get a better understanding from the road commission why that area is shut down. If it is a wet thing, I mean, because yes, there's a lake right there, you say lake, you know,
Right.
right there. And we've got a couple of areas that's swampy. So if that's the issue, then we can leave it alone as is. Otherwise,
Right. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. As of now, I've heard from a couple of the companies that in having to go way around some of the cut-through roads, they did have to go through more stop signs and more lights and some more residential areas.
correct.
And they think of it as a safety concern. Obviously, that's something to balance out. Gerald, Lee, Lori, you guys have any thoughts, questions, ideas?
The only comment that I got is when it comes to those prohibited trucking routes, you actually have to read that, and it says anything more than 5 axles. A standard truck is 5 axles, so they're not prohibited from traveling down those roads.
Right. Just when they're carrying heavy loads and they have to put another axle down.
Right, so we have heavy excavation, we're talking about possibly building here, might have contracts coming through with these trucks with earth movers.
Right.
If they're doing large scale, they're gonna be coming through with two trailers, that's 7 axles, if not 8,
Right.
especially for the purpose, so.
So then they get an overweight permits, then they would be permitted to travel down that road.
Well, that's what I'm saying, why would we have to allow that? I mean, I understand if we're going down a residential area, but if there's a contractor.
Once you exceed 80,000 pounds in weight, you have to get an oversized and overweight permit.
That's true, you're right,
Period.
right.
Your standard truck, 5 axles, 80,000 pounds, that's it.
Okay.
Anything more than that, we have to have an oversized, overweight permit.
And I think we've never never denied anybody that comes in and asks for a permit. That, like, we had lumber companies come through and they're is the sand companies that they're bringing hauling sand, as long as they come in and let us know, then we've never denied them. We just want to make sure we know that if they're overweight, there are more axles, with, you know, how long you're going to be doing it, and where you're going to be driving.
Right, it's an interesting mix for an area, because we do have some tight residential areas,
Yep.
we obviously have forest, we have sand mining, we have very rural areas, and we have very commercial areas, so it is definitely a varied area.
So I understand, what I saw earlier in the ordinance, which I appreciate was in there, is that contractors, if they're going to be contracted for X amount of time in that area, that they're allowed during that construction time to be there. For example, if we did attract a trucking company here, would it be an issue later on because they have a company within the township? I mean, as long as they're not on, I guess, Black Road, you want to call it, that'd be okay? Or what if they decide to put a road,
Well, then
Trucks
they,
up here,
you know,
like
we
Thompson.
have to look at it, if they're putting it on, a road that's not one of our trucking routes, and we have to take a look at it. But we'd know that right away,
Right.
yeah, so.
yeah,
We
otherwise,
just want to make sure that the road that they're, that the trucks are continually going on are capable of handling that kind of traffic for an extended amount of time, or we're going to be paying a lot of money in road repairs.
road
down the
repairs,
road.
correct.
And that was the whole idea for the trucking.
Right, I understand that. Especially dirt roads, not the one people.
Yeah, no.
Dirt roads, so we know that.
Yeah.
We have a lot of dirt.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Anything else? Do you have anything, Lee?
No, I mean, just from, I can't look at them super hard, but yeah, like, just doing a blacklist, I think would be easier than a whitelist. Just to make things easier.
Right.
And I don't know some of the areas as well, like on these roads, I mean, I know all the road names, but I haven't really driven that, I'm not from this area originally, so I don't really know that area that well.
Sure.
Like you were saying, you know, it might not be graded for truck use, it's not ready to handle it. We'll just have to look at it more.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else before we move on? Item number 2 is the ORV and/or golf cart ordinance. So this, I know people have been bringing up for a number of years as well, just like the trucking ordinance, on getting something done with it. There are almost 2 separate issues here. One, there's some people that want to do ORVs, like 4-wheelers and that type of thing. And then there's other people in some of the residential zones that want to do something like golf carts. Included in the packet, I got the ORV ordinance that Houghton has, and I have the golf cart ordinance from the city of North Muskegon. They definitely are different for different types of concerns, different setup. And I asked Sheriff Poulin about incidents, because safety I figured would be the major concern here. He said in the areas that have adopted these types of ordinances, they see no increase in incidents because the people that you have those incidents occurring with are already doing it. So,
I've been doing it for years.
which is common, which is reasonable. And I mean, that type of thing, ideally, on all of these type of ordinances, we'd like to get a set of rules that, you know, most people can agree with and everyone can comply with, and we can work inside that set of rules. Any comments on this?
The only thing I saw is the 25-mile-an-hour thing, the ORVs and the golf carts. I was thinking 35. Because we have most of these areas where we live, like around the lakes.
Right.
If you're close to the lake, it's a 25, but when you start going between the areas, it's 35. So golf carts, I know they can go faster than a person on a bicycle. As long as they stay on the side of the road, I don't see why it would be an issue as long as you're staying under 35 mile-an-hour roads, so to
Right.
speak. The ORVs I've seen today, they do well over 35. So, and I saw one of them in here with a speed limit no more than 15 mile an hour. These things, some of them don't even have speedometers. Golf carts don't have speedometer. I know golf carts can go over 15 mile an hour.
Right.
So, other than that, I thought the language was really well done. I like what they said, just gotta change the titles here from open to public. That's about it, and maybe look at the speeds on some of these areas that we got, and go from there, don't they? I think it's really well done.
All right. Yeah, and obviously we can't do all the roads anyways, because you can't do state roads and stuff like that. you know, cross those in the most direct route and stay off them as much as possible. Any other comments?
That's the only thing I'd say is, it doesn't bother me as long as, someone were to be taking the most direct route to or from the destination.
For the ORV or the golf cart? Or both, are you saying?
Essentially both, but like we had that little conversation earlier, I would limit it
Right.
to no dirt bikes and no four-wheelers. I would limit it to, the golf carts, side-by-sides, little mules or the UTVs, stuff like that. But the four-wheelers and the dirt bikes and whatnot, that'd be a no-go for me. Even though I do ride dirt bikes. It's just, back when I was younger, I was one of those stupid people that,
Ripping up and down the road?
yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Anything, Lori or Lee? Do you have any comment that you would want to make on that, Alan, or is that obviously we're not
agree
getting
with
questions?
both. Holden's, I think, said above the age of 12.
Yes.
I like that you have to be a licensed driver person. You're not going to be driving any other reason, why would we give them a better opportunity? My personal opinion, North Muskegon wants that they had to be a licensed driver and follow the MCL. That's it. If you put a vehicle on the road, you might as well.
Right, I agree. If you're on a licensed road, you should.
That makes sense. And the Houghton one had different references, some to above
Right.
16 and some, and there was something to above 12.
Yeah, it said something about 12 and 16, that's why I just.
But being a licensed driver would make sense, you're on the road.
Right, I mean, to me, it just makes sense. That's what I saw, that, and it has to have the stickers, you have to, you gotta get to go reasonably. I'm not talking about get that turn signals and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I think you should, I have one on my own golf cart, I don't race in the campground, but you have brake lights and headlights.
Right.
I did like theirs also said, North Muskegon did about a half hour before sunset,
Yep, it's
and
on.
a half hour after. Or a half hour before sunset and a half hour after sunrise. I like that, man.
I like that too.
Yeah, because not all golf carts have lights and everything.
Right, some ORVs don't.
Yeah.
That was just my opinion.
And even if you require them, it's still a visual.
Right. But I just
Yeah.
You should still have that reflective triangle.
Yeah, at least.
With the
Yeah.
maps,
Well,
yes.
it
I mean,
says-
that's how we
North
got it.
Muskegon said something about the, whatever the MCL is when it refers to that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I like North Muskegon better than I like Holden's person. That was
Okay.
me.
I was getting maple sap from my neighbor, I was had to drive down just a little bit, I would always turn my lights on, I had my slow vehicle sign in, but I would always turn my lights on, even if it's, right now, just turn the lights on.
Sure.
Anything to say, hey.
You do have
In
to
there,
be
right.
around.
That was all I had, that was all I saw when I read through, it was just the license driver, I just don't. But yeah, you wanna ride your quad or your four-wheeler on your own property, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's
Right.
different.
You know, but I don't, unfortunately, people at 16 aren't always the sure sometimes, but 12, I don't think you're really able to handle a motor vehicle. First, and it's my personal opinion, no, there's not many incidents, but
Right.
I don't wanna give an opportunity to make them.
Yeah, we definitely, we don't want to go wild with it and then have something
That was
happen.
all I saw, those couple of things, and again, I like North Muskegon's better, I like North Muskegon's, that was,
Okay, yeah, that's reasonable. Anything else?
Like I said, I'm not sure if you found that or else talk about it. It's section 62-247, the golf carts, article 8. It's about half the page. So you can see what I'm talking about. This is part, section 1, golf carts shall not be operated on or alongside a public road or street with a posted speed limit greater than 25. I think 35 is more acceptable. And then, on paragraph 7, in no instances shall golf cart be operated at a speed greater than 15 mile an hour. How the heck you put it on? Most golf carts don't have speed.
I was just gonna say,
They don't have speedometers. That's why they don't have speedometer. That's kind of strike
like
out.
this, I don't know.
Strike out.
It's
So,
kinda gauge it.
and then, on the next page, paragraph 12, golf carts are prohibited from operating a rhythm and drive. We don't have a rhythm and drive, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be in here, of course.
Well, that
Yeah, it
is,
would
that
be,
is
yeah,
North
yeah,
Muskegon's
North Muskegon,
ordinance.
yeah.
I just
So we
included
can
theirs.
definitely, if we decide to do something, we can tweak it to match what we need, definitely.
And I understand the permit thing, once a year, get a sticker put on there, so you got a vehicle that's been inspected and ready to go, can operate on the roads and be safe. So that, I think that's a good idea also, for people that want to do that. Other than that, I think it's good, I like it. I think people will enjoy it as well.
Good, any other comments? All right, transfer station free dump passes. So on this, I know it's traditional, when I was a kid, we always went to free dump day at the station and drop stuff off. Our issue, to a large extent, is a logistical one, coming off of Russell Road, down that little drive they have to go through to get to the Dalton transfer station.
Right.
It's pretty easy to back that up and to back it out to the road and to jam up McCormick that we share that part of that drive with. And that seems like a major hassle to do it on a single day.
Right.
I included in the pack that when I was contacted, and contacted a number of different people about it, when I contacted the county, and they have passes where you can take it to the county dump. We could do something similar just ourselves, where you end up with a free dump pass for one free dump. Now the county, some of the places, Laketon and stuff, that have worked it out with them, they have a certain amount that they allow you to go, and then over that amount, you have to pay a different, you have to pay the difference and that type of thing. So we could set an amount, or we could have one complete free dump pass that you could use at any time throughout the year, and that would at least spread out traffic, so we kind of solve our own logistical issue. What do people think about that?
Okay, so you're saying that we would give a free dump pass to be used anytime during the year.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. Free dump days are a nightmare.
Right, when you have a
That's all
single
I'm telling you,
day,
right now,
Yeah,
free
yeah,
dump day is a nightmare.
you end up backing up the roads, and you end
Oh,
up
my.
filling up the bins, you have to try
Yeah.
to take those
No,
out,
I-
but the
I-
traffic
I
has
like
to jammed
the-
up.
I do like along with like the $5, we're doing the $5 passes now. I don't see why we couldn't do a free dump pass. Just one, one per year per residence. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
they do so many visits, they get a free day.
Yeah, and they can just use it
Do
whenever.
something like that.
Punch cards, you get like 6 visits, you get a free dump day.
You could do something like that, almost like a rewards program. I never thought of that.
Because this way it spreads it out. This
I've
is
never
It
heard
could,
of
one
I mean,
specific
yeah,
day.
but yeah, to spread it out, I don't have a problem with that as long as we spread it out because those free dump days were a flippin' nightmare.
And I think that would spread it out. Because
Yeah,
I
I
have
think
friends
so.
of mine that are snowbirds,
Yeah.
only here during the spring and summer
Uh-huh.
and into early fall,
Yeah.
and they're gone.
Yeah,
And they go maybe twice a week.
yeah,
Go to the beginning and then at the end.
Right.
So,
yeah. Like I said, I think of free passes, like a one time, use it whenever you want, rather than you have to use it on this Saturday, or you don't get that. That's just,
Right.
no. So I don't have a problem with, we used to mail out those, free dump, the free dump day passes.
Right,
But
it
we
looks
could just
like,
mail it out we could just do something like that and,
well, it looks like what they're doing for most of the county stuff and the
Mm-hmm.
townships that have deals with the county for their dump and whatnot, is that they allow a pickup, kind of like we've been doing with the coupon, which, I think is reasonable. I know mailing out is a decent expense. That way, just the people that want access to it can come get one. We obviously
yeah,
have to keep
yeah,
track
just
of the
come and
people
get
that are
one,
coming to
yeah,
get
come
one,
and
but.
one. And that's not, we keep track of the $5 passes, we keep track of the, recycle passes, there's no reason why we couldn't keep track of the free dump passes.
Right.
So-
And the rewards program, I've never heard that brought up for a transfer station before. That's interesting.
There are a lot of people, I have garbage service, but I do use the dump, especially this time of the year, spring and all that.
Right.
So we make 2 or 3 trips in the spring and summer, but there are a lot of people that go every week or
Right.
every other week. So that would be a great incentive for them. I like that idea too.
Yeah,
I
go.
was thinking, for like a rewards type program for, everyday people that use the transfer station on a regular basis. Why don't we do something sort of like, every 5th visit, they get like a $5 card?
I don't care. I mean, I just think it,
Rather than just.
Well, and that would limit it, because otherwise
Because
the
they're paying for
system
Monday
is
through
easy to
Friday, why
game.
not give them next Monday free?
yeah.
Because the system would be easy to game if there isn't a limit on it, because if you bring a very small amount and pay a few dollars
Yeah.
5 times, and then you get 1 free dump, and then you bring a truckload.
Right, that's what I say.
But if there's some sort of limit on it, that
And
makes
that's
sense.
fine too. I mean, I don't have a problem with that because, you know, I think the more opportunity we get for people to have a free dump pass or whatever, the less we're gonna see in our side roads and our ditches and,
Right.
yeah. And that, I'm all for that.
Yeah, there's probably about 20 tires in the ditches from
Yeah.
River to McMillan on Agar, or on Hyde Park.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
I
there's
know.
really
And it's
traffic
like,
down
yeah,
there
so
the other day, so they're like,
anything,
holy
yeah.
smokes.
And
It
I
is
do like
very
that idea
unfortunate,
though,
yeah.
if you like, if you go in 5 times, you get $5 or anything like that.
Some sort of rewards program.
Just an incentive so people will, yeah, use the dump rather than the side of the road or a 2-track somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the area look bad,
And, yeah.
not to mention there's expense of, we have to go pick it up, so.
Yeah, so I think
Time.
that's something to, yeah, that's something to talk about. I mean, it would be nice to do something.
And I also don't mind the once a year doing a free thing, but the free pass should be something that they should have to come in and pick up, and they can use it whenever they want. I mean, it's one household.
Oh, absolutely. It would be just the same as the free $5.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you know, 1 per household. That,
And maybe allow them a day,
yeah,
so you spread it out. You can see who's got your free days
Yeah.
certain weeks, and they say your days gonna be Thursdays this week.
And I like the fact that they would be able to use it at any point in time.
Exactly.
But it should be limited to like just 1 pickup truckload, not, you know,
and we can
full.
do that. I
or
mean,
trailer.
when you do, you know, when we let the people know, say, okay, it's like one would be considered a $20 load. So if I got a truckload, my $20 plus I got a refrigerator, I'm gonna pay extra.
Right, which is usually what the county does in those programs.
Yeah,
They have
exactly.
some sort of limit on it.
Yep, mhm,
You can't
they do.
bring a semi-truck trailer full of all the bins.
Yeah, you get like a limit what they would consider, and then anything over that you pay.
Right.
And we can do that.
Yeah, and we can try to make it the right amount, that it'll be a normal truckload, that way it should be, for a regular truckload,
Yeah,
a free
exactly.
pass. That would be reasonable.
I like anything to keep it out of the ditches.
Anything else on that? Private road assessment, so I included in there just the contract we're looking at with the county. On this, what has happened is that last year, there should have been the private road assessments done again, because they were done in 2015. They were set up for 5 years for Johnston, Brock, and Cat, semi over by the lakes. And those weren't done last year. So we're moving on them. We passed the first resolution in the last meeting, so we're moving on getting these done again. But they fell through the cracks at the end of 2020. So we're moving on them fairly quickly, and then we're looking at setting them up on a perpetual basis so they don't have that time frame where they run out every 5 years. I think we'll have to contract with the county done on that time frame, but you don't have to go through a 4-step resolution, 4 individual resolution process to set up the special assessment districts, assuming that the people are gonna continue to want their roads taken care of.
I think so.
Thank you.
So, and the laws around this are fairly tight. We can't just use money to do people's private roads without the special assessment district being set up. So it needs to be done properly. No, it needs to be done properly and quickly.
I agree.
Any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns? On the sewer inspection and maintenance, so on these last 4 items, you don't have anything in the pack because I didn't have anything to put in the pack. For sewer inspection and maintenance, currently we do not have sewer inspection and maintenance being done in Dalton, which I see leading to an obvious problem if you just ignore that forever. Now, as of now, our last major sewer project was 2006. That's when the one went in up along Whitehall Road, and there were some upgrades to the thing along River Road. And that was a $2.35 million project, which is some of why Dalton has had debt and some financial issues at times. So that is now, 2006, that's 15 years ago. And so we need to start looking at having an inspection and maintenance schedule moving forward so that we don't run into any unexpected problems. And what I have is I took pictures of the documents that blueprint out the sewer going up Whitehall Road and the little part we have along 120. The one along River Road is a joint project between us and Muskegon and Charter Township, and I talked to the head of the Department of Public Works for Muskegon Charter Township about that section in particular. But I do have quotes coming in for what an inspection would look like, and then that'll lead to ongoing talks about maintenance. But what I was recommended that we do first is to get video done. So apparently they have to do a little bit of clear out, and then they video the lines to see what kind of shape there is, if there's any problems as of now, and that gets you a solid starting point. I don't know what kind of cost it's going to be because it depends on your lines, it depends how long they are. So that information is still coming to me. I got in contact with the company last week for looking at that. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, comments on that?
Is that East River, or something, the sewer's on?
Well,
Whitehall
we
Road.
have one on Whitehall Road, and then we have one on East River as
Yeah,
well.
it's-
And a little bit on 120. Anything else? The sewer rate study, I know it includes sewer in the word, but it's a completely different thing. Based on our audit, the audit from March 2020, for the fiscal year before that, it was recommended to us by the state that we do a rate study because our rates are oddly low and our sewer fund for paying back the bond has some issues. The numbers do not come out ideally. They don't come out well. So we are looking at doing that. I've been in contact with a company that was recommended to me by the head of the Department of Public Works for Muskegon County about putting that together. So they're working on getting proposals our way on what it would cost to do the study. And then at the end of the study, we'll have a plan of how to level out that fund and make it work and most likely bring our rates up to something that's comparable to other places. Any thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns on that one? The budget operating deficit is just going to be tough decisions to a large extent. Now on this, I've had a number of conversations with people at the county level and people at the state level on this. They do not like using the word deficit, and that is the way I put it on the schedule. But there's a significant difference here between a fund deficit, which is illegal for a township to have, which we do not have because we have funds, we have money in the bank, and an operating deficit, which is where your revenues for that year are simply less than your expenses would be for that year, except for you can use money from past years as another revenue source so that you're balanced budget for that year. So we are. I scared a few people and had a 40-minute conversation with an attorney about semantics on that. That was a lot of fun. We're just going to have to figure out exactly how to balance those. One, we're looking at the sewer rate study already. That's part of that plan. Currently, the last couple of years, Dalton's been putting money into roads, which is great, which is nice. I was reminded that that is not a necessity for a township to do, but Dalton is a developing area, and we are in a transitional phase. As Chief Stiles has pointed out, we're right on the line for fire in between the places that have more full-time fire staff and the places that operate a part-time like we do. And we're kind of on that brink in every area because of the way our population is. And because it's an up-and-coming place, it's great to have infrastructure coming in, like the sewer and investment in roads, and we need it. But we also have to balance it out with the budget, of course. So those will be things that we have to look at.
Well, hopefully with all the new business coming in, that should take care of some of our budget issues.
Yeah, we hope so.
How is that
yeah.
with the marijuana? How many, we got one right now?
What? Yeah.
That's a start, that's one.
Yep.
3 more to go.
Yeah, exactly, so.
3 more, that's it, come on in.
Yeah, it's ideal if that type of thing happens at a reasonable pace, you know, we don't want it to overwhelm the township, and we do have a lot of construction, and we have new businesses coming in at a decent rate now, so we definitely want to grow through this, there's just growing pains in this period of a population size, so. Good, any other thoughts, comments, concerns? And maintenance and tree planting. So on this, I was hoping to have a date, and we've been working on it, but we do not have a date currently. I'm working with the county. Before we got in office, there was a grant awarded that was done by the previous treasurer, so we appreciate that, for putting trees into the parks, mostly Beagle Fields. 20 trees overall, 17 of the trees will go in Beagle Field. So we're working on organizing that. It would be needed to help out our maintenance department, volunteers for that. We're working on organizing that as well. I don't have a date specifically on that. And then overall, as a maintenance concern, what's happened a little bit because of those previous financial issues in Dalton is there's been penny pinching, which is good, which is important, and you can get some expenses kind of hidden in the budget because they don't appear on paper when we let things fall a little bit into disrepair, which is true with some of our parks, which is not ideal, and it's just an expense that we're putting off into the future. Now that obviously has to be balanced out with catching those back up and getting them working and going and that type of thing, which is happening, but it has to be balanced with budget concerns, of course. So, actually, we just got, or maintenance department, not me, they just got the display, the electronic display at Beagle Field for the baseball field working, up and going. So, which is excellent, because I don't think that's been going in many years.
Okay, awesome.
Good. Any comments, concerns, questions, thoughts, ideas? Nothing? All right, we will move on to our second public comment section. Would you like to make a comment? The mic is up.
Not sure if all you met me, but Chris Hall, 2360 Middle Lake Road, Supervisor Martin. This economic stimulus money that's coming out, 900 plus for Dalton, which is kind of nice. There might be some caveats there for some of that sewer. They're very restrictive, which is kind of a stinky deal, but for roads and maybe some of that camera, I need to use that word, videoing for the sewer stuff. And then, if you're going to be opening meetings back up, will packets be available online?
Well, like these?
Yes, from now on.
So the public packets, or the resident packets, I think I've called them so far, are the normal things that would be available at a meeting, like the agenda, the treasurer's report, paying the bills, the past meeting minutes. I'll keep putting those together online.
Okay, good. It's nice to have them ahead of time before you
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And I have talked with Chris Hall, and he's been helpful on several different issues, and he's right. We have that stimulus money coming, which is a budget concern, and there are going to be limits on it. We're looking at exactly what those are and what they can be used for. If it can go into our sewer debt, that would be immensely helpful. So that's what I've been hoping for so far. We haven't gotten a confirmation on whether we can use that exactly for that yet or not. And obviously, like Lori says, we don't want to count the money before we get it either. And we have not seen that check, so we will wait for that, and that would definitely be helpful. And I've been working with other people on not expending so much of our funds, for instance, on the lakes, the lake level outlet device on Twin Lake is technically part of the ride drain, and the drain commissioner, now known as the Water Resources Commissioner, is looking at updating that device actually in April. It should be good to go, and it will be officially set at the 1984 levels that it's supposed to be set at by law, and it'll be operating correctly. So hopefully in the next couple of months, and none of that is coming out of Dalton's funds. That's great. Any other public comment?
Just one more quick note, I shouldn't even tell you guys this, but,
Yeah.
so back in the day, right after that, the bad sewer downfall that happened, we had a rate study done, and the general fund was supposed to be putting in $40,000 a year to help that sewer deficit out.
Okay.
I don't know if that ever happened through the last few years, so that's the problem you're in.
Not that I ever can see.
I know, it's a bad situation, it's been there since
It's kind of-
2008, so,
Yeah, it's kind of one of
Don't,
those out of sight, out of mind things, and
but it's there.
now it's in sight.
Yes, and so on the sewer, jump back a little bit, onto this sewer problem, is Dalton's kind of been limped along. We've been helped at various points. So in 2016, we got an infusion with the settlement from Michigan Adventures of $400,000, which was significantly less than Dalton was supposed to get in the initial assessment. Obviously, several businesses like the trailer park, like some bars, collapsed when the sewer went in because they couldn't support those financial payments. But Dalton in 2016 got an infusion of $400,000 from the settlement with Michigan Adventures and an infusion of $300,000 for flow meters from the county. So the county helped the township out at that time. So that was $700,000 that came in for the sewer in 2016, and that put the problem off until now, basically, about 12 months from now. So we have to start planning for it at this time, which is exactly what we're doing. Good. Any other questions, thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns, anything? No? All right. Well, I will call this meeting closed.